Nicholas, obviously, you're somebody that was disappointed by the referendum result, but what about sort of the Albo pivot? Nothing to see here, nothing behind me, no $450 million bin fire, no rejection of the idea by 60% of the country. Instead, he's strutting around and pretending that it was the 60-40 result the other way. And what about this narrative that they're already starting to build, right? Okay, politics is a bare-knuckle business, but already people out there with the, let's just be direct. Peter Dutton is Australia's Donald Trump garbage that is starting to float around as the long-term narrative they're going to try and build against Dutton, who, last time I checked, was on the side where the majority of Australians were on this issue.
Well, look, I think Anthony Albanese wants to move the debate on to cost of living as quickly as possible, and that's why you would have heard Labor saying that cost of living is the number one issue about 1 million times so far this week.
Just not
on
last
Bridget
week.
Archer, I mean, I do think that one of the strengths of the Liberal Party, you might not expect to say this, but one of the strengths of the Liberal Party is that they do allow their MPs to vote with their conscience, and they do allow them to cross the floor if their conscience so directs them. In fact, I would like to see the Labor Party give more latitude for that sort of thing. And so it may be a source of great inconvenience and annoyance to Peter Dutton today that Bridget Archer has done that. But I actually think what she has done is part of one of the strengths of the Liberal Party. So much as it may annoy you and James and many others on that side of politics, I think there's a broader principle that we saw there today, which is actually a pretty good thing in Australian politics.
She can vote whichever way she wants, as long as it means one less teal, then I don't care, right, about what happens, because you're either part of less than 76, which means that you're in minority or opposition, or if you're in government, hopefully you have a little more than that. So I'm not going to fall for the outrage that is what Liberals can do, which is to cross the floor. In this case, I think it was a wrong decision, but I'm not going to give people what they want. But Nicholas, again, the narrative, right? Michael, the narrative. You see this here about what is trying to be built. The most extreme leader the Liberal Party's ever had. It really is the click and drag of the Republican Democrat thing. Remember when they hated John McCain? They hated John McCain because he was standing in the way of Barack Obama, and then he became the lion of the Senate. They hated Mitt Romney with the binders full of women, but then, of course, he turned around and started bagging Trump. So, well, he's the lion of the Senate. You can't, people can see this, right? Now, I don't think that seats like Blaxland are about to flip towards the Liberal Party, but very obviously there needs to be a push into the suburbs. They're not going to go via the Teals. But what about this framing of Dutton as sort of Aussie Trump, and they're trying to do this as the next rhetorical phase between now and the election after the budget next year?
He doesn't seem to have much in common with Trump at all, so I don't think that's going to work. I mean, you could say that a Clive Palmer had elements of Trumpism, but Dutton is an entirely different character, so that's not going to work. What is troubling Labor is the fact that Dutton is appealing to the working middle class. And Albanese is caught in this terrible bind between being the plaything of some of the extreme left Aboriginal leadership, the aristocracy, and he's losing his working class base. So all the wealthy people voted with him and all his middle class and lower class base, working class base didn't. That's his problem. He ought to worry about his own problem. And it's hard for opposition leaders to win first terms. We know that. We know there hasn't been a one-term federal government in Australia since 1931. We know that. So it's very hard for Dutton to win. But if that's their criticism of Dutton, that's not going to work. The next election is going to be one on policy, and Albo's going to struggle in some areas, I think.